is everyone? Good. All right. Uh-oh, I knew that was going to happen. So for those of y'all who don't know me, I'm Cousin Jessie. I'm the alter ego of Jessica Wilcox. Well, she's real nice, but I'm a hoot. All right. Get my papers set up here. Let's see. Oh, and there's Debbie. Okay, thank you, Debbie. Forgot my mask. So I'm here today to talk to y'all about the annual pledge drive here at Unity Santa Fe. Debbie, if you want to bring your sign up, that'd be a good sign. I'm going to call it the pledge-o-meter. We have an operating budget next year of $209,000 covering all of our expenses, and we are seeking pledges totaling $126,500 of that. And as of November 18th, 12 people have pledged a total of $33,400. Thank you. And to those of you who have already pledged, we are deeply grateful. That's 26% of our goal, folks, so we have a ways to go. All right. Now, some of y'all have said that's a pretty lofty goal. In fact, it is. It's more than we've tried to achieve in pledges before. But because we are committed to our mission-centered partnerships and to meeting the needs of both people in person and online, we really want to try to reach that goal. Now, and start the upcoming year with a solid foundation. Now, we may not reach that goal, and that's okay, but we're still putting it out there as our vision for prosperity and stability as we head into a new and exciting year for Unity Santa Fe. So what's a pledge, you ask? I think I heard somebody say that. Well, let me tell you all. Pledges are simply you and me saying that we'll commit to giving a certain amount of money to Unity Santa Fe over the upcoming year. A pledge can be the same as your Sunday offering, just that you say how much you're committing to give up front. Okay? And with pledges, we can start the year knowing how much we can count on. Now, nobody likes to count their chickens before they're hatched. All right? So if you plan to pledge, please fill out a pledge card. We consider those hatched chickens, and we want to count them. And thank you if you've already turned in yours. Now, I know some of y'all might be procrastinating, so I'll just remind you to giddy up and get those cards in. In fact, I've been procrastinating. I got mine right here, so I'm going to turn it in right now. I picked a stand that doesn't bend, so I try to fix it, but it just won't move. So last week I was inspired by Karen Roberts saying that she increases her pledge every year as an act of faith and prosperity. Well, thank you, Brian. He's a little hero over there. So I decided I would do the same with mine. I would increase my pledge this year as an act of faith and prosperity. And I pledge to Unity Santa Fe because this is where I come to not only keep a meditation and prayer practice going no matter what is going on in my life, but also to bring energy, joy, and fun to it. Yeah, and best of all, to get to share in this joyful experience with all of you. Because if I'm always praying alone, 'tain't no fun. Amen. Now, I know there might be some of you hanging back, waiting to make your pledge till the new minister starts to see if you think she's worth pledging to. Well, let me just say, we ain't pledging to the minister, folks. We are pledging to our Unity community. We're pledging to ourselves. We're pledging to each other. We're pledging to the people who need our community and our message who haven't found us yet. but for whom we need to keep this community alive and vibrant. Yeah. And then there might be some of y'alls who haven't pledged before and are maybe a bit shy or nervous about pledging. I was there once too. So if that's you and you feel called to pledge, I invite you to step out in faith and do so today as an affirmation of your shared prosperity. And because I like to walk my talk, I'm going to step out in faith today. And I'm going to do something I've never, ever done before. Trust me, Brian and Ellie know. They heard me earlier. I've written a little song about pledging. And even though I have never sung in public, more like a shower singer myself, I'm going to do so right now for the very first time in my entire life. So y'all ready? Y'all might recognize this tune a little bit. All right. Okay. Oh, hang on a second. My mama told me never to sing with gum in my mouth. All right, that's better. Oh, Lord, won't you buy me a unity ministry? My friends are all Baptist or Catholic or Buddhist or Unitarian, you fill in the blank. I must make amends. Worked hard all my lifetime to be free of duality. So, oh Lord, won't you buy me a unity ministry? So now, folks, there's so many reasons for your pledge that we seek. And not just to keep the lights on and the heat and AC. We've got lots of programs that we need to fund, like spiritual classes and groups for the young. And the staff, how we love them, but they won't work for free. So now, folks, won't you pledge to this unity ministry? Oh, Lord, we could try to do it all with just help from above. But even new thoughters can't survive on just love. So make that pledge and you'll say, I support you, I love you, Unity Santa Fe. Everybody now, oh Lord, won't you pledge to this unity ministry? It's a place where we're accepted just as we be. Worked hard all our lifetimes to be free from duality. So, oh Lord, won't you pledge to this unity ministry? Woo, thank you, Brian. Thank you, thank you. So I now invite y'all to put your money where your heart is and make that pledge. There's pledge cards here on the table. Our wonderful Debbie Bryan will be out front handing them out after the service. If you are joining us on Zoom, we're going to put a link in the chat. You can click on, download that pledge card, fill it out. And if you can't find a pledge card, just send Susanna an email at admin@unitysantafe.org. Thank you so much, y'all. Woo!
Ellie, we are so glad you found us and we found you. Yay. And now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our very own Tom Newman. Reverend Tom Newman began attending the Shrine of the Masters of Tampa. It was a metaphysical church, and he started there in 1962. He started sitting in weekly mediumship classes for 6 months when he was 11 years old. And he has continued to search for spiritual truths ever since. He sat in classes for 40 years. Tom moved to Sarasota, Florida when he became actively involved with the Shrine of the Master's Church of Sarasota. He was ordained in 1995 by Reverend Dorothy Fletcher, who with her husband founded the church in 1949. The next year, Dorothy made her transition into the spirit world at 82, and Tom became the senior minister of the church, a position he held for 17 years. In 2013, Tom moved to Santa Fe, yay, which was a lifelong dream, and he continued to learn and teach the higher principles of spiritual truth. Today he runs the Teaching of the Angels, an organization dedicated to bringing teachers and mediums from all over the world to Santa Fe. So spiritual truth can continue to be shared with all of us seeking higher understanding of life. And I will tell you, for those of you who have never partaken in one of Tom's classes or the mediumship or the mediums that he brings to our wonderful sanctuary or the classes, you are in for a treat. And I really say we are blessed beyond measure to have Tom Newman speaking today and joining us in our beautiful community.
Wow. Followed two Parton sisters and Carol. Where do I go from there? I'm going to tell you a little. It's not really a secret, but all of my adult life, I have been against doing pledges. See, true transparency. It's not that I haven't been generous in giving, because I believe that giving to organizations that we support, that's part of the process of the universe. But I've had the thought that I didn't want someone telling me what I had to do. And I know that's, in some ways, that's foolish. But Jessica, you were amazing. And I will tell you that as of today, I will fill out a pledge card for unity. One other thing I want to say, and when I came here, I've been coming out here for 15 years, and then 8 years ago, I bought a house 15 years ago, and then 8 years ago, I moved here full time. And one of the things, my spirit teacher is Dr. Henry Meredith, and one of the things that I said to him, because I'd always heard, I've been coming out here for 40 years. I was connected to the Philmont Scout Ranch up in Cimarron. And I said, always had this feeling that Santa Fe was a place of higher spiritual teachings. So when I would come out on those, I'd come out 5 times a year, and I'd come for 12 days at a time. My congregation didn't like me being gone more than one Sunday. You know, we had a great love affair for 17 years. And so half of those times I'd be out by myself, and I would come to Unity one time, and then I would come to another metaphysical center here in Santa Fe the other time. So when I got here full time, I said to Dr. Meredith, let us find and decide which of these 2 organizations that our teachings would best fit. And actually what I did too, I set out on a path of looking for organizations that would teach the higher spiritual truths. I say this with humility. I couldn't find any. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that are doing their best to help people find their way, and that's the way it should be. But the truths that we were looking for, that I was looking for, I just didn't find it. So Dr. Meredith said, well, let's bring them here ourselves. And so that's what we have done over these past 8 years. In 1998, I had a full-time job also with Verizon. In 98, in a private session with Dr. Meredith, through a particular type of physical trance, he said, we would like you to no longer prepare talks, because it would take me days to do it, and I was doing it at night when I wasn't working full-time with Verizon. He said, I will speak through you. All you have to do is trust me. And I said, fine, because I've been working with him for over 50 years. And so since that time, and we had 2 services on Sunday, but since that time, I've not prepared a single talk. And I've spoken to groups of up to 200 throughout the U.S. and also in England. And what he does, he assesses the needs of the people in the group. I'm sure that Liz, I noticed the way she was speaking a couple weeks ago. And I said, she's doing the same thing. She's speaking inspirationally. She didn't have a note with her. And so we've done, I would say, 1,500 talks. So it's called inspirational speaking. It's a part of physical phenomena. And that's what we're going to do today. So I know the topic only because I was asked to provide a topic. And I actually brought it with me to remind me what the topic is, to stay on track. The energy and light of giving thanks. We are all on a spiritual path. And I continue, as a seeker of truth, I continue to look for those explanations and lessons that will help me to put the big picture together. It's the grand design of life. So many times we are focused on just surviving life, getting a job, being able to have income coming in and paying bills and doing this and doing that. I remember attending a service of someone that I knew through another person, and one of the and I was listening to the minister, and it's always been kind of a habit or hobby of mine to attend other services, certainly of other philosophies, and just see how they do things. And this fellow was, he was saying, and it was a very charismatic organization. I won't name any denominations or anything, but he was very charismatic, and he said, and thank goodness Joseph doesn't have to pay any more Florida Power and Light electric bills, and he doesn't have to pay any more TV bills. And he's going down the list, and I was sitting there saying, don't mention Verizon, But it's been interesting. But so much of our lives we focus on just the elements of I don't want to be dramatic, but I'll say survival. And then when we get into our 40s and 50s, which most of you have yet to experience that. This is when Geppetto comes into my talk. Then we start looking and starting to feel comfortable with the basics of life. And we start shifting toward the spiritual aspects of life. Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? We have certainly all of the major traditions, the major philosophies to be guided by. And I know that many of you started in other belief systems before you found unity. But it's interesting listening and discovering what is at the core of our purpose here and how we interact with the universe around us. Giving energy to something that we believe in is very important. You've heard the poem, Thoughts Are Things on Airy Wings, Swifter Than Carrier Dove. That was Reverend Dorothy's favorite poem. And Dorothy Flexer was, I would venture to say, she was probably one of the greatest physical mediums that our humanity has ever experienced. She could have become, extremely wealthy had she gone public with her abilities, but she chose not to. She chose to lead the Shrine of the Master churches. There were 2 of them one in Tampa, that's the one I grew up in, and one it was started in 47, and the other one was in Sarasota, which it continues today. She chose to lead those two with her husband Russell, those two organizations. But as we have moved along this path of learning and developing, and I really enjoy, and thanks to Carol again, I enjoy teaching. You've heard the old saying, if you give a person a fish, you fed them for the day. If you teach them to fish, you fed them for life. Well, the second method is what we work with, and that's teaching people to find their way through life and not be dependent upon any individual other than themselves. You know, most people just need to know the tools and the techniques and the energy and light of giving thanks. That's a critical part of this whole process, because it is our thoughts, it is our words that we speak, it is our actions that not only define us, but they help to create our existence today and tomorrow. I love to say in an interaction with somebody, a counseling session, who's in charge of your life? Because many of them will say, well, I had this misfortune of growing up poor, and, I was neglected by one of my parents or both parents, and I did this and did that. And then I would say to them, well, who's in charge of your life? Well, I guess I am. You are. I was in England. I love to go to England whenever possible, whenever we don't have a virus, telling us what to do, one of my favorite activities. And I like to go to hardware stores, grocery stores, different types of shops, and see how they do things, what they sell and things like that. So about 4 years ago, I'm in this one close to where I was staying, and they had a couple postcard size, they were sayings. And I picked one up and it said, "It's never too late to have a happy childhood." And I thought, oh my gosh, that's a wonderful piece of truth. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. If you studied master teachers, and I'm sure the majority of you have, they will all say it's not what happens to you that's important, it's how you respond to what happens to you. It's how we respond to it. One great revelation, and I like being down here on the floor because it gives me the chance to move back and forth. One of the great revelations that I've had, and I've had many, and when you hear that I was, being involved in different things for 40 years, attending classes, and the classes were taught by spirit teachers, I was thinking, maybe that's indicative of being a slow learner. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't care. But one of the major truths that I have, discovered along this path is that it is our future, our present, our future is determined by the energy we put out there into the universe. We are creating the conditions of our life. And a lot of people don't know that. They're not taught that. And so, it's never a matter of criticizing anyone else. It's a matter of extending a hand and helping them along the way. And one thing we need to keep in mind, this is an imperfect existence. The earth was created for learning. It was created by God, Allah, Great White Father, whatever term works best for you. But it was created to be a place of learning. I asked in a class one time, there was a master teacher there, her name was White Lily, I remember her to this day. And I said, is it true that before we come down here, because as souls, we were created 3 billion years ago, the souls of us, and that's who we really are. This physical body is just an earth suit. It's a vehicle that we need to negotiate our way through this experience. But I said, when we when we create that plan, they call it a soul's plan for our life, and that's where we bring in life lessons that we're going to experience. And why are we bringing particular life lessons? Because this is how we have a chance to learn. Life lessons are challenges. That's another term. They're challenges. When everything is going our way, do we love those moments? Absolutely. Show me the machine that will let me multiply those experiences and extend that time. But the question to ask is, are we learning anything new? We're not. We learn when we're challenged and we're not getting our way. That's how we learn. And that's what life lessons are for. So I asked her, is this what we do? Do we use life lessons to plan our upcoming lifetime? And she said, yes. And I said, do we plan our departure also from that life? She said, yes. Of course, I'm in addition to being intuitive, I'm very analytical. And I want to know more and more and more and more of the details of the way it really is. I said, how often does it come true that we depart when we plan? She said 70% of the time. The other 30% people depart early because of lifestyle choices. And you fill in the blanks on that. So, something to keep in our minds, in our thoughts. We want this experience to be beneficial. Most of our early culture, and I would say starting in the 60s, 50s and 60s, when televisions first started coming in, and some people say television's the work of angels, and some of it's work of lower forces, lower entities. But all of those, if you remember, and I think many of you remember the My Three Sons and the Donna Reed show, and all of those 30-minute programs that were on black and white, there was always a happy ending at the end of each show. Good always prevailed over bad, Good behavior always prevailed over bad behavior. And so we kind of get used to that. We get used to thinking, well, justice will always prevail. If I'm right in a conflict or a situation, and there's others making judgments as to who will prevail between two different parties, then we expect the person who is doing the right thing to be the one to prevail. That doesn't always happen. Now, spiritual law is in such effect that we reap what we sow, always. We reap what we sow. But the reaping time may not be taking place immediately after it's been sown. It could take place 5 or 10 or 15 years later. And it reminds us our role is not to be judge and jury. Our role is to do the best we can, interact with others, try to learn from them, and take it from there. Move on day by day. That helped me a great deal because I expected perfection from myself. There was a time as a minister, now can you imagine coming in, I'm sure Reverend Liz is thinking this, but I think she's very confident of her abilities. But Reverend Dorothy was almost a deity, because of what she could do physically, as physical mediumship. She was almost a deity. And so she was ill for just 2 weeks, and then she was gone. Now, she was developing me and training me and all of that to take her place one day, because her husband had passed several years earlier. But the old saying, you're never a prophet in your own backyard, it's true. It is really true. And so I had to go through a period of not trying to fill her shoes. And I came to the realization, I'm not filling her shoes, I'm filling her job. And then it's going to become more of my job. And that's what happened. But it was a learning experience for me. It was a learning experience. And it worked quite well. And anything, no matter what you're involved in, and we get into our 50s, 60s, and upcoming 70s. I can see it, And what happened to my 60s? They were here a minute ago. We start to realize, who am I? And what have I done? And how do I validate myself? And I think one thing that has come to me from all sorts of different avenues, and this is even spirit teachers who are transing through mediums. One common thing that has happened over the last 20 years is they have said, you are a man of integrity. And I have thought about that, not from an egotistical point of view, because I'm quite humble. Really, I don't mind being on the back row. I don't mind being the last one to go through the door. It doesn't define me. But when I think about that, a man of integrity, that's important. And that's without solicitation. I've not solicited anyone. But you think about what makes somebody a person of integrity. Well, when they keep their word, when they look out for the efforts and needs of other people, when they step forward and say, let me help, let me do something that I can do. Now, we're not looking for saints. We're looking for just people to help to contribute to the overall good. And like I said, I was sitting here thinking, gee, I wonder if I should say something about the pledge card, because this is really changing me. I always enjoyed Flo's appearances when she would come periodically, but Jessica did it really well. She really did. And again, it brought that thought to me. How can the board plan what they want to do if they don't know what's going to be the income that's coming in? And it's so simple. I don't know why it was such a big deal for me, but it was. But like I said, not anymore. Thanksgiving is a time, and we have to think about it. I mean, it's a time of turkey and just, golly, just wander through a grocery store these days and you'll see what Thanksgiving represents to many people, and that's how marketing works. I don't have any problem with it, but pumpkin pie, they talk about, on many of the news programs, they talk about a shortage of turkeys. Well, there's not a shortage in Santa Fe, that I can tell. But it's a time to think back to giving to others, helping others. The original group of pilgrims that come over, they were 102. Now, these weren't farmers and people that were used to living off the land. They were merchants. They were people who were seeking religious freedom. They wanted the ability to worship in whatever way they chose and not be told what to do. There it is again, being told what to do. So they followed with a lot of, faith and courage. They followed these ship's captains and these companies that were sending the Mayflower over. 102 of them, half of them died during the first winter. They arrived, I believe, I think it was in November, December, November, something like that. They stayed on the ship during the winter, but half of them died of disease and the lack of nutrition. When they came off the ship, a couple of things happened to them that really made a difference in their ability to survive. And this was up in Plymouth Rock, up in, I believe, Massachusetts. One, there was an Indian. His name was Squanto. And he had been kidnapped by an English group that had come prior to that time, and he was taken back to England. He learned English. He escaped from his kidnappers, and he was able to work his way back on a ship to get back to where his people were. So he approached these early pilgrims, these wannabe settlers, and said, I can help you. He introduced them to a tribe, the Wampanoag. I'm sure that's on the tip of your tongue. Wampanoag. And they also helped them. They took them they found in a cave a cache of seed corn, and they used that to plant, and the Wampanoag taught them how to plant corn. They taught them how to get fish from the ocean, how to prepare the fish, and to do other things with other vegetables. It was their efforts that helped 50 people to survive. And that first Thanksgiving was occurring in the autumn of that 1621. And it was giving thanks that they had survived. They had met Squanto, and he was there trying to help them. They had met the Wampanoag, who were also, didn't know any of them. They didn't know the Pilgrims, and the Pilgrims didn't know them, but they were there to say, let me help you. And the Thanksgiving was a way of doing, expressing a gratitude for the help that had come to them. Well, you know, I think it was Lincoln in 1863 who declared a day of Thanksgiving as a national holiday. And it was funny, I think it was Roosevelt in 1939. If any of you were born back then, correct me later. But he said, instead of the fourth Thursday of November, let's make it the third Thursday. He was trying to stimulate the economy because of the Depression. But so many people hated that, that ultimately he changed it back to the fourth Thursday. And I think about who in my life has made my life easier. Who has helped me on my path that I haven't had to struggle as much as I could have? And there are a lot of people that fit that category. And Thanksgiving is a great time for us to do that. And I think about unity. You know, I asked Spirit one time, I said, they had told us that the Sarasota church, Shrine of the Master, is now called the Sarasota Center of Light. They have said this is what we consider in the spirit world to be a center of light. They said, if you're traveling over the earth, over Florida, you'll see a beam of light coming up and just going up into the heavens. And if you follow that beam of light, it takes you down to the church. And I had never heard that term before, and I said, well, how many centers of light are there in the world? And this master said, about 50. I have since asked that same question just a couple years ago, and the number climbed to 75. Unity of Santa Fe is one of those 75. It's considered to be, by the people in the spirit realm, a center of light. So, I have a great deal of gratitude to bring forth to the congregation here. And I have said many times to people who have visited from other states or other countries, I said, what connects me to unity is the people, the congregation. There is a feeling of love, genuine love there. There's a feeling of not having expectations for what we do and what we don't do. Everyone is welcomed. Now, we're not creatures of perfection, that's for sure, but we're striving toward that. So on this Thanksgiving coming up, think about Flo's cousin. Think about, I think about as far as municipal services, and probably 100 years ago, they didn't exist. The people that pick up our trash once a week or twice a week. I've been to a lot of developing countries and seen what happens when that service is not provided. Or the sanitation systems that carry all sorts of stuff away from us. It allows us to live in an environment of cleanliness and health. My sister and brother-in-law, they wait every week for the people picking up their garbage. And they walk out there and they give them a little gift. And these men who are on the truck, they're so grateful that if my sister and brother-in-law are not there that day, they bring their cans from the street all the way back to the front of the house. But they wait. They know what time they're going to be there. And around Christmas, my sister's a great cook. She bakes cookies, and they'll have things of chips or Gatorade or different things that they can take with them on their journey during the day. I've never done that job, but I can imagine it's tough. There's a lot of physical exertion that goes on, and they're on time frames, expected times to get done, and yet they're out there picking up everything and carrying it away. It is for us to think about those folks. Think about the people, and that's one of the good things about the virus. It's helped us to learn about first responders, people that work in the hospitals, in jobs that aren't nursing or doctors, but they're jobs that are very important in helping us, the people that work with ventilators and the people that work the x-ray machine and take our temperatures and all these other things. There's so much that we have to be grateful for. And it's just one day a year. I like to think of Thanksgiving as every day. And I will say to you that the spirit people that helped to create this church and that work with this church every day, they wish to say to you, thank you for your support. Thank you for being present. We know that you had many choices of how you could spend your time and your resources. And I would say thank you to Liz and to her partner. I haven't memorized your name yet, but I will, promise. Because, that is definitely a divinely driven decision to bring these people to us. I mean, it's continuing. You can see the pattern. So think about it. Eat as much turkey as you can. If you're a pagan, go for ham. Have as much pumpkin pie as you can possibly eat. But also think about the people that have made your life much easier and that have brought blessings to us. And how can we bring blessings to others? Thank you. And we're going to do a meditation now. So if you could, trim the lights a little bit. Those of you, and I know that many of you meditate, and again, you visualize the future, you visualize what you want in your life. There's a tool that many metaphysicians use, and I'm going to help you with that right now. If you would, I have a guide that's pretty mischievous. He said, tell them they must take off their mask to do this meditation. I'm kidding. I don't have that power. I wish I did. But take a look at your feet and the feet of the chair. Okay? The 4 feet of the chair. Now, if you would, close your eyes and visualize a square that your chair with your feet and all of you are sitting inside the 4 sides of this square. We're going to create a pyramid, and we're going to work with the pyramid in a mental way that will help to produce results. So visualize the 4 sides of the pyramid rising up, and as they rise up, they become more narrow, each side. And so about 3 feet above your head, the 4 sides come to one point, an apex. So create that with your mind, and many people will feel the energy change around them as you are sitting inside the pyramid. Now let us visualize a white light coming from the spiritual world, coming into the top of the pyramid and slowly filling the pyramid. And it's filling it from the top all the way through the bottom. As you know, energy is always moving. So this energy comes down, it enters into the top of your head. It's filling all the space inside the pyramid. It's touching the brain, the eyes, the throat, the ears, coming down into the neck and your shoulders and arms. This energy is white light, and white light contains all the color vibrations, but it comes down, enters into all of the major organs, the heart, the lungs, kidneys, the liver, comes down into the upper part of the legs, and goes down through the legs, and then the entire pyramid is filled with this divine light. It flows out of the pyramid into the earth. And that energy continues to come into the pyramid and goes slowly through it. It's always in motion. Now visualize this. You can use the pyramid for anything. We're going to work with it for abundance. So visualize sitting on your lap a treasure chest. And it's a treasure chest that the lid is open wide, and you fill the treasure into the chest. If you would define treasure as being money, you can see bills or coins. If you would define it as precious gems or gold, silver, or deeds to property, whatever, however you would define abundance. And whatever abundance you desire, could be paychecks, whatever abundance you desire in your life today. But fill that chest until it is filled all the way to the top. And you can feel this divine energy as it's still flowing through you. And now we have abundance sitting on our lap. And we know, without having to use any particular affirmations, we know that this exercise will bring abundance into our lives. And now let us visualize the pyramid with an image of us sitting in the chair, slowly rising up and slowly moving through the roof of this building out into the ether, to the energy highway. And that image will continue off, and we'll release it with our minds. And we know that whatever we need in our lives, as far as abundance goes, it will be coming to us. It'll be coming in divine timing. We release it, we have faith in it, and we pray it in the name of the Father, through the Son, and by the Holy Spirit. Amen. You can use that exercise for health, for improving relationships with other people, anything you want. The pyramid is very powerful. Thank you.